let's circle back around to good news, bad news.
News. Is it good news?
I got great news, guys.
Or is it bad news?
What type of news is it? Well, to be perfectly frank, it's bad.
Carroll, and we were wondering if Pete Carroll was good news, bad news, that he was going to be out. Well, Antonio Pierce has reportedly emerged as the leading candidate for the Raiders head coaching job. Of course, this is according to Adam Schefter, and Adam Schefter's never wrong.
Never.
And so Adam Schefter says that he is the leading candidate for the Raiders. We saw this team play at least inspired whenever he took over as the interim coach. And we know that Devontae Adams, probably the most important player on that team, because Josh Jacobs, even though he's been there longer, is going to be gone because they are not going to re-sign him. He's going to become a unrestricted free agent. They could franchise him, but they won't. And so it's going to be Jacobs out in the market. And he said, we like Pierce. We want him to be the guy. We certainly think that he's someone that could lead us. Now, that's fine and dandy. What are you going to do at the quarterback position? If you don't have a quarterback in the NFL, you can't do anything at all. But, all in all, I would say that the Raiders could have punted on the season big time and chose not to, and maybe a lot of that had to do with Antonio Pierce in the locker room.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because I would say it is both good news and bad news. I'm going to say it's good news because if you don't hire him, you're going to have a straight-up mutiny in that locker room. That is a Raiders pun, by the way. You're going to have a straight-up mutiny there because, look, it's not just Adams who said, hey, I want him to be the coach. You have Max Crosby come out and say, if you don't hire him, I will demand a trade. So you've got a locker room that really is supporting the guy. However, I'm not sure he's the guy I'd want my team to hire if I had to pick the pick of the litter. We talked about this. I would want an offensive-minded coach. I wouldn't want a defensive-minded guy, and Antonio Pierce very much a defensive-minded guy. Clearly a very good rah-rah Dan Campbell-style guy. Going to get that team to play hard, and they played very, very hard for him. They have an issue at quarterback. They need a new offensive coordinator. They need to figure out what they're going to do on the offensive side of the football, and Antonio Pierce, to me, is not the answer to that specific problem.
The other thing is just, I get it, and you love him and as players and all that, but there are some pretty big-name dudes that are going to be looking for jobs. I mean, outside of Belichick, you have Harbaugh, who is, a guy that is going to most likely get a job somewhere, and can you really say, I get it, you love Pierce, but can you really say if you have a chance to get Jim Harbaugh that is a guy that you would pass on? I mean, I think you would have to at some point take a step back and realize, okay, I do love Antonio Pierce, and Antonio Pierce has to love all this that he's getting in the media, and it's probably going to get him if he doesn't get this head coaching,
he will be a head coach somewhere,
or at least he'll get another very good coordinator gig, and then he'll be at the top of the list for the next coaching cycle.
Well, to me, that's one of the problems with hiring Antonio Pierce if you're at the Raiders. It's not just Harbaugh. It's not just Belichick. It's not just Ben Johnson, who is available as well. I mean, even Pete Carroll, who wants to continue coaching, available. You have a lot of really good coordinators that are going to come available this cycle as well. Slowick down there with the Texans. You've got Ben Johnson with the Lions. You've got a lot of attractive head coaching candidates that I think are people I would rather have running my franchise from a head coaching perspective. And so it's not just the hiring of Antonio Pierce. It's the opportunity cost of what you are not hiring if you end up with Antonio Pierce at the head coaching job.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.